The snow fell gently that December evening, like tiny prayers drifting down from heaven. Margaret sat on the cold metal bench at the bus stop, her cream lace dress offering little protection against the winter air. At 23, she had learned that life could change in an instant. 3 months ago, she had been a college student with dreams and a small apartment. Now she counted the coins in her pocket and wondered where she would sleep tonight. The streetlights cast a warm glow through the falling snow, creating circles of light that seemed almost magical. Margaret pulled her thin shawl tighter around her shoulders and watched her breath form small clouds in the frigid air. The bus was late again, but then what did it matter? She had nowhere urgent to go. That's when she heard the small voice. "Excuse me, lady?" Margaret looked down to see a little girl, perhaps 4 years old, bundled in a red wool coat and wearing a knitted hat with a pom-pom. The child's cheeks were rosy from the cold, and her dark eyes held a wisdom that seemed far too old for her years. She was holding a small brown paper bag. "Hello there," Margaret said softly, her voice gentle despite her own troubles. "Are you waiting for the bus too?" The little girl shook her head and took a step closer. "My name is Emma. My daddy went away, and my mommy—" She paused, looking down at her small boots. "My mommy is sleeping in the ground now. Grandma Ruth says she's with the angels." Margaret's heart clenched. She had known hardship, but this innocent child— "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." "Where is your grandmother now?" "She's inside the warm building over there." Emma pointed to a social services office across the street. "But they're talking about finding me a new family. I heard them say it might take a long time." The little girl's voice wavered slightly. "I brought you this." She held up the paper bag. "It's my sandwich from lunch. Peanut butter and jelly. Grandma Ruth always cuts off the crusts because I don't like them, but you can have the whole thing if you want." Margaret felt tears prick her eyes. Here was this child facing her own uncertain future, offering her only meal to a stranger. "That's very kind of you, Emma, but—" "You look hungry," Emma interrupted, her small voice matter-of-fact. "And sad." "Like me?" Margaret accepted the bag with trembling hands. "Thank you, dear one. This is very generous." Emma studied Margaret's face carefully, tilting her head like a curious bird. "Do you have a place to sleep tonight?" The question hung in the snowy air between them. Margaret had always been honest, even when the truth was painful. "No, sweetie, I don't. I thought so." Emma nodded sagely. "You have that look, like when the stray kitty used to sit by our back door. Mommy always said everyone deserves a warm place to sleep." The child was quiet for a moment, watching the snow accumulate on the bench beside Margaret. Then, with the startling clarity that sometimes comes from the mouths of babes, she said, "You need a home, and I need a mommy." Margaret's breath caught. The simple truth of it was overwhelming. "Emma," she began, but the little girl continued. "I know you're not really my mommy, but you have kind eyes like she did. And you said thank you for my sandwich. Some grown-ups don't say thank you anymore." Emma's mittened hand reached out and touched Margaret's bare fingers. "Your hands are so cold." At that moment, an older woman emerged from the building across the street. She was perhaps 65, with silver hair and a face marked by years of kindness and worry. She spotted Emma and hurried over, her footsteps careful on the snowy pavement. "Emma, sweetheart, you can't just wander off like that," the woman said gently, then noticed Margaret. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Ruth Patterson. This is my granddaughter." Margaret stood, still holding the paper bag. "I'm Margaret. Margaret Johnson. Emma was just—" "We were just talking." Ruth's experienced eyes took in Margaret's situation quickly. The thin dress, the worn shoes, the careful way she held herself despite obvious exhaustion. "Emma has a gift for finding people who need kindness," Ruth said quietly. "Always has, even when she was tiny." "She gave me her sandwich," Margaret said, her voice thick with emotion. "Of course she did." Ruth smiled sadly. "She's been doing things like that since her mother passed in September. It's like she understands loss in a way most children never should have to." Emma tugged on her grandmother's coat. "Grandma Ruth, Margaret doesn't have a place to sleep tonight. Can she come home with us? Just until she finds somewhere?" Ruth looked at Margaret, and in that moment, Two women who had both known loss recognized each other. "The couch isn't much," Ruth said slowly, "but it's warm, and there's always room for one more at our dinner table." Margaret felt something break open in her chest. Not pain this time, but relief so profound she nearly sobbed. I couldn't impose. You don't even know me." "Emma seems to think you're trustworthy," Ruth said with a gentle smile, "and I've learned to trust her judgment about people. Besides," she looked down at her granddaughter, who was now holding Margaret's hand, "maybe we all need each other right now." As they walked together through the falling snow toward Ruth's modest home, Emma chattered about her favorite books and how she was learning to make pancakes. Margaret listened, feeling something she hadn't experienced in months, the warmth of belonging, even temporarily.